Asked Mr. Edwards to make double duty tonight by having us lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have the assistant principal fill that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Edwards?
The board meeting tonight. All right, so first and foremost, tonight I'm going to talk about Johnson Elementary School and what we've been doing in regards to literacy at Johnson School. I also want to talk about, as I go through this presentation, I want to highlight the analytics warehouse as well as a new initiative we're doing at Johnson School called Post Reading. All right, so first to start off, I want to talk about how we identify factors impacting reading achievement at Johnson School. We know that there are three factors that affect reading achievement. That's attendance, decoding, and complexity of text. So obviously with attendance, you know, students not attending on a regular basis is going to affect their achievement in reading. In regards to decoding, if a student is a poor decoder, then they cannot read fluently enough to understand the text that they're reading. And finally, complexity of text, talk about how if the text is challenging enough for the students or a child, and that child-specific academic level. So the Common Core State Standard says that there are three factors that determine the complexity of text. That's qualitative measures, quantitative measures, and considerations related to the reader of the task. So as I move forward, I want to highlight attendance first. And we know that with attendance, there's a direct correlation between low reading scores and low attendance. So what we decided to do was to target attendance first at Johnson School. Now in the past, we used to use an Excel document, which was nicknamed the Beast. And it was called that because it had many different data points throughout the system. But now what we'll be able to do is use the analytic warehouse, which is a much more robust system to allow not only the district administrator or the building administrator to look at data relative to students, but also allows the specialist and classroom teacher to navigate the analytics warehouse to delve deeper into data to remediate deficits for the students in regards to academics. All right, so let's talk about how that works. So with the analytic warehouse and attendance and test scores, we can, with the analytics, we can actually go into the system, hit the Achievement Series tab, and where it allows us to then look at the students who perform poorly on the local assessment in regards to reading. We're able to highlight those individuals in the analytics warehouse and then go to the attendance tab and draw a correlation between whether or not the student's attendance is having a direct impact on their ability to achieve academically in literacy. Now in the past, that was much harder to do. The analytics warehouse has really made it beneficial for, like I said, most importantly, the classroom teacher to be able to go into that system in a matter of minutes to be able to analyze data relative to their students to see what's impacting their academics in relation to attendance. In the past, when we did that, we relied on a district administrator to do that for the whole district, provide an Excel document, which could take weeks or even possibly a month because that individual was doing it for every school. The analytic warehouse allows not only the district administrator or the principal, but also the classroom teacher to do it in minutes. So it's tremendously beneficial to our school. Now, if we talk about decoding, again, we look at the relationship between low reading scores and students' fluency or low words per minute. Now, we, using the analytic warehouse, wanted to figure out a way to improve decoding in the classroom by providing tier 1 interventions or to help our interventionists identify and target students with low decoding to try to improve their achievement. Now again, in the past, we used the Excel document to be able to do that, which took a long time to do. But now with the analytic warehouse, we were able to actually complete that process in a matter of minutes, or depending on how deep you want to dive, you know, it can be done in one plan time. And then you can actually use that information to change instruction immediately for those students and not have to wait on that as well. How does that work again? We can go into the analytics. We can look at students, we can go to the Achievement Series tab. We can highlight the students who had poor performance in reading or in their reading test and see if there's a relationship between decoding. And we can go and look at the Ames Web data and see if the rate of that student is having an impact on their test scores. And that's just, again, one way to look at, use analytics to really look at data and change instruction for the students in school. Now, as I said before, we're looking at complexity of text was the third item that we were looking at in our school. When we talk about complexity of text, we talk about 5 different areas. That's the purpose, the structures, the features and graphics, language, and knowledge demands. Now, when we talk about purpose, we're talking about is the purpose of the text explicitly stated, or is it vague for a student? Does it have a single level meaning, or does it have multiple meanings or purposes? You talk about structures. You want to know how is the text organized? Is it chronologically, or is it in another logical fashion? We talk about features and graphics. We want to know the graphical devices that are in the text, relatively simple or are they complex? And then you talk about and you also look at the graphics to see in the text to see if they're just for show or whether they're necessary to help the student to understand the material being presented that's in the text. And in language, you also want to make sure that you're looking at how complex the vocabulary is for the student. Is it rigorous? Is it going to stretch the mind of the student? And then you look at knowledge demands, looking at is the text a single theme text, or is it relatively simple as opposed to a multi-theme text that would be more complex? Or does the text deal with common everyday experiences, or does it present experiences that are likely most vastly different than the reader who's reading the text? And that's very important. In order for a student to be able to understand what they're reading, is something they can relate to. Now, I told you that I have a new initiative that we have in Johnson School. It's called Close Reading. So I'm going to tell you how we relate complexity of text to close reading in Johnson School. All right? First and foremost, we wanted to make the staff aware of exactly what close reading is and how it works. Now, we're lucky enough to have Jacqueline Rodriguez, our assistant principal, who came to Johnson School last year with a vast knowledge and vast array of information that she can provide to enhance our school. As Jackie and I kind of sat down, I noticed that she had in-depth knowledge of close reading. In her previous district, she trained multiple teachers in that area. So we decided together that this was an initiative that, looking at our data, that would actually improve instruction in our school and help our students academically if we were to implement close reading at Johnson School. So what we decided to do was to work with Julie Ozenkowski and develop trainings that would help our staff to really implement this endeavor. But we thought we didn't want to just jump down this too quickly. We wanted to take a full year to train our staff, and then this year would be the implementation year. I'll talk about that a little later. But we talk about when we're implementing close reading, students need to have the ability to read complex text and understand what that means. And I'm going to give you a little fact here. Over the last 50 years, the text that students have encountered in elementary, middle school, and high school have decreased in complexity. And so while this phenomenon has been happening, textbooks in colleges and in universities and at the workplace have become more complex. So that's an issue. So as a result, there's many students who are graduating from high school with lack of sufficient skills that are required to comprehend text at the workplace or at college level. Common Core decided that, and that's why Common Core basically decided that more complex text needed to be used in schools so students could achieve academically, and so they could close that disconnect between the college world and K-12. And so this is why we decided to use close reading at Johnson School, because close reading allows our students to be analytical when they're reading complex text, and allows them to look through text through a different lens. So you're going to ask yourself exactly what is close reading. Close reading allows students to read closely to determine whether a text is explicitly, what the text says explicitly, and to make logical inferences in regards to that specific text. It helps the student to understand when they're writing or speaking to support conclusions from the text as well. Close reading of complex text involves engaging with and examining facts and details about the text. You're asking students to read a text over and over again so they can understand it, and they're looking for the purpose of that text, look at the features that are within that text. So that's the meaning of the individual words and sentences, that's the order in which the sentences unfold within the text, development of ideas over the course of the text, and you're getting students to think thoroughly, methodically, and analytically about the details within the text that they're reading. And by doing that, we're going to see our students increase their achievement astronomically. So the question is when do you do close reading? Well, thanks to the framework that was created through District 200 and through FACE Department, we can do that through read-alouds, we can do that through shared reading groups, and we can do it through the whole class, direct instructions using the text, or a visual that everyone can see at the same time. Now, when we talk about the implementation of close reading in the classroom, and what that might look like in relation to our teachers, we're asking our students or asking our teachers to have our students read shorter text. You don't use close reading with novels. They're designed to use with shorter text, and the teacher models how to read those short texts, and then you actually have the student reread the text deliberately, much slowly, and they're examining and they're thinking about the meaning of individual words, the order of the sentences, and the development of ideas that are within that text. They annotate the text while they're reading so they can mark the big ideas and the skills that are in there. Students are looking for familiar patterns such as repetition or contradictions, similarities or commonalities, and the teacher leads discussions related to the text that they're reading, and then the student then writes about the text using evidence to support their student responses, and they also annotate the text when they're reading as well. And we'll talk about what the annotation looks like in a second. Now, I told you we took a year to train our staff in close reading, which is very important instead of just jumping into the initiative. And so this year, our goal is to continue that training, but also create an implementation, or also begin implementation of close reading. So on our opening day Institute Day, what we did is we had Jacqueline Rodriguez and Julio Zukowski work with our staff, and they were to bring in a lot of different texts. So we're going to teach them how to identify complex text, which is a very important strategy when you're implementing close reading. And that training went very well. So what we plan to do further to continue to train our staff, before we decided the next direction to go in close reading, we took a survey to our staff, using a Google survey, to identify what areas that they were proficient in and what areas they needed to learn for close reading. So what came from that is we wanted to observe close reading videos from expert teachers. So our teachers can see how it works within the classroom, how it works with students. And after our teachers become more proficient, we plan on also videotaping them and using those videos with other teachers within the classroom, within our own school, and if the district sees fit to use that with the other schools if they are moving into the close reading initiative. We're also going to plan to teach teachers how to develop rigorous, complex questions, which is another important phase of close reading. And then we also want to train our teachers to build and evaluate instructional strategies that focus on productive collaboration and conversation. And that falls within the FIT guideline, and in particular the creation and collaboration within the FIT guide. We also want to train our staff in creating writing tasks that connects with text that require students to analyze and evaluate text that they're reading. And again, they would do that in many different ways, and some of the ways would be annotating text, which is what this is. So when a student is annotating text, they are reading a text and they're using these symbols to identify important words or keyword details, things they may understand. They're underlining, they're identifying unfamiliar vocabulary words, or looking at areas that they don't understand, or where they're making connections, or things they're thinking about as they're reading the passage. Now, what's very important about this is that from kindergarten through 5th grade, these students will be using this text toolbox symbols. So could you imagine a student who's now in 4th grade and 5th grade who's been annotating text since kindergarten, how proficient they will be, and how beneficial it's going to be for our students in regard to reading improvement. This is something that we are pushing within Johnson School. We're very excited. Our teachers have that written in their lesson plans on a daily basis, and they're very excited, and I'm very excited to continue moving on with this initiative and to be supported by our board and supported by Faith and Dr. Schuler. So I kind of told you what close reading is, and you're like, okay, this sounds kind of cool, but what I'd like to do is actually show you a video of a teacher actually doing some components of close reading with 2 students. And this is Nina Jean Francesco. She's our 2nd grade teacher. These are 2 students. It's Tyler Sconning and Brandon Orizawa. With that said, Rodney, go ahead and play the video.
one time all together, taking turns? Well, what is it that we're reading before we start to really look at it closely with our lenses? So today, our focus is we're going to look at those unknown words, those words that maybe we can read them, but we don't know what they are, or maybe we have no idea what that word is, okay? And when we come to those words that we aren't sure of, what do?
Circling.
We circle them, okay? So are you ready? Let's put on our lens for unknown words. Get your lens on. And we are ready. Who would like to start? Okay, Tyler, you start first.
Is still a very popular sport. Today, kids play basketball all over the world. It is still a great game to play inside when it is snow.
Great job, reading. Okay, now that we have the gist of the story, I want you to reread it to yourself. I want you to circle any of those new or unknown words that you might know. Okay, so take a couple minutes to reread it for that second time, circling any new or unknown words. Okay? In your mind, yes. In your head. What our focus or our lens was today for our close reading?
I looked at the unknown words to really understand.
Very good, very good. Do you guys remember, just real quick, how last year you guys would read each of the paragraphs and you would write the one main idea or the main topic for each of the paragraph in one word along the side? Do you think you could do that real quick? Because that's pretty awesome the way that you two did that, okay? So here's what I want you to do just real quickly. You're going to read through the story one more time. I want you to think really, for each one of the paragraphs, what was the main topic that the author wanted us to know? And I just want you to write the one key word for each paragraph of what the author was really telling us in this text. Okay?
Okay, so that's an example of one component of close reading where students are reading text and they're annotating. There are many different, there's more components to close reading, but obviously we don't have enough time here in this board meeting to show you that. But I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to tell you what's happening at Johnson School, for allowing us to host the board meeting today, and thank you for being here. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. The next item on the agenda is, are there any modifications to the agenda from board members? Hearing none, we'll move on to recognitions and achievements. Dr. Schuler.
Absolutely. And let me add my thanks to Derek and Jackie and the staff at Johnson. Thank you so much for putting that presentation. Also want to thank your PTA for the refreshments tonight and the hosting. Thank you so much. We have two celebrations tonight, and actually we're going to start with the Safe Schools National Award. We have certainly heard, I know the board has heard in previous chat sessions with high school students about the importance of athletics and activities in their lives, but there certainly has been in recent years an increased focus on safety, especially with all of the developments around concussions and the need to make sure that as we're providing those opportunities that are vital and important for our students, that we're doing it in a very safe way. And so we're pleased tonight to share with you a recognition that both of our high schools received. It's called the Safe School Sport Award, and it's a prestigious award that recognizes schools for taking extraordinary steps to make sure that their sports are safe. And so I want to introduce Steve Mayo from Wheaton North and Tracy Headley from Wheaton Warrenville South. They want to tell you a little bit about that award, introduce their teams, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Schuler. We're accompanied by our assistants, Laura Most from Wheaton North, and Don Mount from Wheaton South. And we're very excited to be on the first team. This award is an initiative by the National Athletic Trainers Association to promote safety in schools. Currently, there are 9 other schools in Illinois that have this designation. Tracy and I sat down last spring and went through the application process. We had to meet 10 different criteria area, important ones regarding emergency action planning. We put together a practice with the Wheaton Fire Department this August, all began. We, of course, have to have concussion protocols in place. We have initiatives and protocols for fitting protective equipment, maintaining our facilities, keeping records, and maintaining privacy. So we're very excited to be on the first team. Our award is good for 3 years, and then we'll reopen. Thank you.
If you would, thank you. We would love, as a tradition of the board during recognition, if you would bring your team up, the board members would like to thank you and greet you personally, if you would. And Mike and Matt, if you would come up as well, since I know you're supporting the teams. If I can continue in the theme of physical fitness and activity, next guest that I'd like to bring up is Maureen Fournier, who is the co-chair of the Blue Ribbon Committee, and she's going to introduce our second recognition.
Okay, this is a Blue Ribbon Physical Education Award presented to Longfellow Elementary School. And before I bring them up there, I want to let you know that only 64 schools in the state of Illinois have been given this honor of Blue Ribbon status for physical education. Out of those 64, only 18 are elementary schools. So I think that is just a wonderful opportunity for your students to have a fabulous physical education program. And I would like to introduce the staff at Longfellow, Barb Williams, Nancy Shirley, an integral part of any physical education program is a school nurse, so Liz Westergaard, and Diane Thornburg was the principal when they received this award. I would like to briefly let you know what they had to go through to get this award. First, they had to fill out a 7-page self-evaluation. We call it a criteria booklet. Then they also had to send in curriculum, assessments, yearly plan, pictures, benchmarks, and then we looked through it and we sent out a team for a site visit, where this team spent a whole day re-evaluating Longfellow School. And they looked at the curriculum. Is it aligned to the state standards? Is it progressive? There are 18 line items under curriculum. We looked at instruction. Are they using best practice? Are the kids actively engaged? There are 17 line items under this. We looked at the facilities, equipment, and financing. We look at the medical and safety. Are the classes being conducted safely? Is there a medical procedure for injuries? And then we also look at the administration, how it is handled in the school, how PE is part of the integral part of the whole school program. After that, then the evaluation team makes a recommendation. And I would like to say that they were impressed with several items at Longfellow. The first one was the strong community relationship. Without that community relationship, the PE programs are good, but they're not great. So they feel that this is one of the reasons why Longfellow has a great physical education program. They highlighted the senior breakfast, the TOTS program, the PE ambassador program, Falcon Day, and the creative cardiovascular heart unit. As we know, cardiovascular disease is a very high priority here in the United States, and it actually starts with elementary students. So the more we can teach the elementary students about cardiovascular fitness and cardiovascular heart disease, the better off they will be as adults. So Longfellow has given their students an awesome start on how to live a healthy and fitful life. So congratulations to all of them. Last thing I want to do is thank the school board, because without your support, this program would not be here. I would like to thank the parents, because again, without the parent support, physical education would not be such an important part of the curriculum. The students, who are a very integral part of physical education. After all, they're the reason we are here. And of course, the faculty. Without the faculty, the program doesn't exist. So thank to all of you, and which makes it a community, for presenting your students with such a wonderful physical education experience, which will carry them on through their life. Please present a pen if you would like to present to the school board and the administration for your support for the physical education program. Thank you.
Thank you. And Barbie, your team, if you would, I know you got a pen you want to present, but thanks for coming up so that we can congratulate you in person. Roman, if I can, just quickly here in transition, I do also want to recognize Mr. Sean Walsh, who's here tonight. Sean is now the principal at Longfellow School, so Sean, thanks for being here as well to continue what obviously you just heard of as a fine tradition there. So.
The next item on the agenda is public comments. The opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have a question or comment on an agenda item. The board appreciates hearing from stakeholders and values your thoughts and questions. The board strives to make the best decisions for the district, and public input in a variety of venues is very helpful. The board must protect the civility and decorum of this meeting. Please be thoughtful and respectful for the duties of the board and democratic process in your comments tonight. Please use the microphone, state your name, address, and address your comments to the board. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes. This policy that I read may be inappropriate for tonight's one lone commentator, who's Barb Strapiniak from the DuPage Foundation. We welcome her tonight and certainly welcome the comments.
Good evening. As you said, I'm Barb Strapiniak, and I'm representing the DuPage Foundation. I know that many of you are familiar with the foundation, but for those of you who are not, the foundation was established in 1986 to benefit the people of DuPage County. Our mission is to foster philanthropy, connect donors to area needs, and build community partnerships. So basically what we do is work with donors, we help them to achieve their charitable objectives, and then we also work with local nonprofits to help them better meet the needs of their clients, and then we work to try to connect the two. We have several different grant programs. One is a competitive process where local nonprofits can apply for grants in one of four categories: agriculture, education, environment, and health and human services. But we also have many donor advisors. And this is when donors come to the foundation and they establish endowments. And then they have the opportunity to recommend grants to support programs that are of interest to them. And that's why I'm here tonight. One of our donor advisors with the JCS Fund has a specific interest in arts, and particularly classical and orchestral music. So through this fund, we invited 18 schools throughout the area, Glen Allen, Glendale Heights, Wheaton, Warrenville, and Lombard, to apply for grants to support their instrumental music programs. And the grant committee reviewed all of these applications, and this donor advisor recommended $262,000 in grants for all of these schools, and $137,000 of that is awarded to District 200, and I know you're going to be voting on that tonight. And a lot of these grants are for instrument purchase and repair, master classes, music repertoire, composition, and I think there's sound shells at Wheaton Warrenville South. So this is the second year that we've awarded grants for students in District 200. We received the final reports, and we were so impressed with the outcomes that the music teachers and all the things that they had done with the students. So we're thrilled to award these grants this year, and we're really thrilled to continue to work with District 200 to continue this program. So thank you. Also, I would like to mention on another note, the foundation has been actively involved in the Wheaton Warrenville Early Childhood Collaboration, and I know District 200 is an active participant in that. And it's just really exciting to see the efforts that have been done as a community, and the district is very involved in that, to see what they've done to improve and enhance the efforts for young children. And it's really exciting to see what will happen when all those kids get to kindergarten and they're more prepared. So just really exciting. I'm so thrilled to be here to talk with you. So thank you.
Barb, we always enjoy listening to all public comments, but I can't think of a public comment I've enjoyed more listening to you than your presentation tonight. Thanks so much to you and the DuPage Foundation for all that you're doing for our schools. We'll now go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Schuler.
Thank you. I've got a couple of things that I wanted to share with the board tonight. I'm going to actually keep with that theme that you just heard about from the DuPage Foundation. When you get to the consent agenda tonight, the board is approving a number of different donations to the district. In total, you're actually approving donations that are in the amount of $222,000 tonight that are coming not just from the DuPage Foundation, but a variety of PTAs, private groups, eco-labs that have put together grant programs. I think Mr. Matheson had asked before if we would start to track those donations, and so I didn't make a copy for everybody, but I just thought I would pass around what we've received thus far through the first quarter of this year. And again, I mentioned tonight alone, we're at almost $250,000. So we've got a goal around partnerships, and we are continuing to work very, very hard. We can't take credit for all of those gifts that are coming to us, but we certainly value, support, and want to continue to sustain the partnerships that have brought those opportunities to our students. I can report as well, kind of in that same theme of the Early Learning Collaborative, the 2 classrooms that are supported through the Early Learning Collaborative. Those are the 2 additional fully funded preschool programs are open at Jefferson Early Childhood Center. So we are excited to continue to see opportunities for students throughout our school district. We know the opportunity to be in early childhood, the opportunity to have preschool helps them come to school ready to be well supported by us. So I wanted to mention that. A couple of other things tonight. I think I gave Mr. Polson a temporary moment of panic when he opened his green folder and thought that we were going to go through this presentation for you tonight, called Sharper Focus. We are not, in fact, doing this presentation, but I thought you might be interested in seeing it because it is a presentation that Faith, her department, and other members of SLT have gone out to give at each of our schools this year, again in an effort to continue to tie all the pieces together truly, and I will tell you, not set up. I think what you heard already tonight in a couple of the reports are a lot of the ways that things that we're working on are really beginning to tie together in a way that that addresses the mission, the vision that the board has set. So I just thought you might be interested in your leisure of looking at that. So unless there are objections, we won't go through it tonight. We'll just give you a hard copy of that presentation. Also in your green folder, we've given you, and it's marked very clearly with a draft, and I want to make sure that you understand that it's a draft because they're 6-day enrollment numbers, but we have given you a copy of our 6-day enrollment. Those 6-day enrollment numbers, interestingly, very, very close to the CUSD200 projections, just a little bit below that. They do show an overall decline of about 170 students. Again, that was at 6th day, and comparing that to last year's 30 days. So I'm certain when we get to the 30-day enrollment that that's going to have tightened up a little bit, but again, I just wanted to kind of give you an early glimpse of enrollment. We are meeting with the enrollment committee on September the 21st, so that is an annual group that we visit with to look not only at enrollment across our schools, but also to look at capacity issues and bring forth to the board any recommendations if there's a need to consider any kind of a boundary adjustment. That's what brought forward to the board last year, the one shift we made at the 2 elementary schools, but that group will meet for the first time on the 21st. Also, one other thing we're doing this year for the first time with a lot of help from Joanne is that we are bringing together, I shouldn't say for the first time because I know we've done this in the past but not in a little while. On October the 15th, we've invited all of our local realtors to come in and visit with us for a breakfast. And really one of the things that we want to do is not only make sure that we are sharing with them the many good things that are happening in our district and giving them talking points certainly to use with prospective families, but we also want to just be aware of any trends that they might be seeing that could impact future enrollment numbers. So looking forward to that opportunity, and Chicago, thanks for helping us to build that list. 2 other things that I'll mention just quickly. Citizens Advisory Committee, something the board approved at a recent meeting. We had originally talked about using the State of the Schools presentation next week to help us advertise for CAC. The good news is we've already got 30 applicants for that committee after having just put it out through a couple of channels, and very interestingly, Mary Lou's been helping me track those applications, a really nice cross-section of geography within the district, also of folks that have students in our school, or kids in our schools, folks that have students that have already gone through our schools before, some that have kids that have not yet gotten to school age. So I'm really pleased early on by kind of the cross-section of applications that have come in. So our intention is to continue to collect those applications, and ideally by October the 1st, meet with the board's Community Relations Committee just to review that list of applications, solidify a roster for the first year so that we can target our first meeting for the middle of October is the hope for this year. So I'm really pleased with that. You may have seen some press today about the fact that some very initial park numbers were released today. I'm going to point 2 things out about those park numbers. Those did not include any districts that tested by paper only. So any results that you heard about did not include any District 200 students. So I'm confident those results are going to boost after they've included our numbers in them. But I want to point out one thing with that. So we obviously don't have any individual numbers back. It's not anticipated that districts will see their results until probably middle of November at the earliest before we would actually get individual results. So compare that to what Mr. Edwards shared a little bit earlier today about our local assessments that we administered just a couple of days ago. We've already scored them, loaded them into the analytics warehouse, have the results back in our hands of our teachers so that they can actually make decisions that inform, and again, just compare that to state level results administered in March to April, not likely back in the hands of folks that can actually use them in any productive way until maybe the middle of November yet. The only thing productive that's come out of it thus far, I think, is an article that's going to suggest that schools are not doing well. So that's my editorial. I'm done. And then the last thing that I want to mention, just one other thing we're kind of keeping track of. You may have heard about a new discipline bill that was passed not too long ago called Senate Bill 100. It is a bill that is going to have some impact on the way that you can go about suspending and expelling students. Obviously, expulsions are not something that are very frequent among District 200. In fact, we have very, very few, but when you look at suspensions, it's going to put some new parameters around not only how often you can suspend students, but what the reasonings are, what kinds of support you have to provide when they're out of school for having done something that's caused them to be moved out. So it's going to have an impact. I would anticipate with some of the fall legal conferences that we're going to get a little bit more information about actual implementation of that, but it's one more thing that just sort of in the back of your mind as we get ready to visit Friday with state legislators. I think it's a well-intentioned idea, but it is one more idea that's kind of pulling local control back, because discipline policies, as long as we're operating within the parameters of the law, were really something that we had a level of local control, and that's kind of being pulled back. So we'll keep you updated on that. And I think that's it for today. No more good news.
Any questions of Dr. Schiller on his report? If not, we will move to the consent agenda. And please bear with me while I read the items that are included in the consent agenda. 1, acceptance of gifts from Emerson PTA. 2, acceptance of gifts from Sandburg PTA. 3, acceptance of gifts from Pleasant Hill PTA. 4, acceptance of gifts from Whittier PTA and Whittier Dream Foundation. 5, acceptance of gifts from Edison PTA. 6, acceptance of gift to Sandburg School. 7, acceptance of gifts to Franklin. 8, acceptance of grants from Ecolab to Hawthorne. 9, acceptance of grants from Ecolab to Longfellow. 10, approval of gift from DuPage Community Foundation. 11, approval to post revised policies 2.150 board committees and 2.220 Board of Education meeting for public review and comment. 12, approval of post revised policy 2.260 uniform grievance for public review and comment. 13, approval of revised policy 2.250, access to district public records. 14, approval of revised Board of Education principles of operation. 15, approval of the renewal of Scranton Achievement Series and Analytics Data Warehouse subscription. 16, approval of annual application for recognition in schools. 17, approval of annual vendor contract generating revenue. 18, approval to dispose of surplus assets. 19, approval of statement of completion, summer 2015 paving projects at 6 schools. 20, approval of bills payable and payroll. 21, approval of minutes, August 12, 2015 open, August 27, 2015 special open and closed sessions, and approval to destroy recordings of closed sessions prior to April 2014 as allowable by law. And 22, approval of personnel report to include employment, resignation, retirement, and leave of absence of administrative, certified, classified, and non-union staff. Are there any items board members want removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there any information from the staff in support or relating to any of the consent item agenda? Consent items?
Two things that I'll point out very, very quickly. The revised Board of Education principles of operation There was an an attachment A that was mentioned in the document but was not attached. It is attached now, so that just has the information about the board parking lot. And we did also, the approval date on the bottom adjusted to show tonight. And then the one other thing I did want to mention is that policy 2.150, board committees, we did change the words, so instead of board chair or committee chair, since we don't have chairs, it just says committee members. So that word was replaced in the policy.
Are there any questions or comments?
Just a quick comment. I just want to thank Mr. Edwards for sharing that information about the analytics data warehouse that you talked about tonight. Because I think anytime that we can see examples where where some of these programs are going is helpful. Thank you.
And Dr. Schuler, with respect to the approval of the renewal of the Scranton Achievement Series and the analytics data warehouse subscription, we use the Scranton Achievement Series not only for gauging student achievement, but we also use it in developing the standards for the PIRA compliance that we need to implement in 2016, 2017.
So Scantron is the actual assessment system, so yes, used for a whole lot of purposes, local assessment, as well as see some components that will be a part of that. Used, as you heard from Mr. Edwards tonight, used consistently as part of the school improvement processes at each building as well. Again, those are results we know, or assessments we know, tied to our standards. We get results back in a way that we can use them productively for improvement.
Just one quick comment about all these donations. Certainly appreciate all that. A lot of it really revolves around technology, but I was particularly drawn to Sandburg School and the buddy bench, whereas if a student is not able to have somebody to play with you, sit on the bench, and somebody will play with you. So since Sandburg is one of my adopted schools, I intended to test the buddy bench, and I'll see if any kids want to talk to me. I thought that was great. I tend to report back to the board how it goes.
I wonder if it'll work for you.
I don't know. That could be a safety issue for kids. So maybe we'll ask Mr. Bacon to be your buddy on the bench.
Call the police first, make sure it's okay.
I wanted to make one other comment on the approval of the completion of the 6 contracts. All the work that was performed at the 6 schools was done on time to completion, and that approval was done for $25,438 less than the contract amounts. So I want to express kudos to Bill and his team and JR and his team for work well done. Thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, I ask for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Coghill. Ms. Senator, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Paulson?
Yes.
Mrs. Coghill?
Yes.
Mrs. Utahar?
Yes.
Mr. Gambiani?
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree?
Yes.
Mr. Froman?
Yes. We now move to action items. The first action item is the adoption of the 2015-2016 budget. And Dr. Schubler, is there any information from the staff?
Yeah, Mr. Farley, I think he's going to make a couple of introductory comments.
Thank you, Dr. Schuler. Tonight ends the process for the budget adoption. If you recall back to July, when the temperature in this gym was probably the same as it was right now, or is right now, the board posted the tentative budget for the school district. In August, we held a public hearing on the budget. We did have one comment from a community member, and just wanted to touch base back with that. Dr. Rammer was kind enough to speak with the speaker after she was finished in the lobby, but I just wanted to touch base on two of the items that she brought to the board's attention that are included in the budget. And one was referencing the TERS ERO assessments, which is included in this budget. And then the other one was relative to the teacher, the end of career bumps that teachers are getting. And the board has taken great lengths to minimize and even eliminate those through the collective bargaining process. With the bumps, this is the last year of those, dating back 2 contracts ago. So those are no longer will be in our budget past this year. And then the assessments from TRS for the early retirement option through the last collective bargaining process has been eliminated. Next year we will have one that we have on the books, but after that the process is eliminated. So I just want to remind the board that you've taken action to address those issues that were brought forward. I also want to briefly just run through the changes that we discussed at the last meeting, and just the finalized budget is attached to the board report. It's a document we do have to file with the Illinois State Board of Education. But if the board recalls, we did move some PD money around into a different account in the ed fund. We didn't increase it, but we just identified it differently, so it's easier to understand for the community, and it makes a little more sense. We also increased the general state aid allocation based on the proration of 92% versus 89%, which was in the original budget. Put that money into the O&M fund for potential projects to address some of our capital project needs. The board also, in their green folder last board meeting, got some information regarding the final bond sale information. That information has been included in the bond and interest fund in the final budget document as well. And then finally, as we mentioned at the last meeting, the on-behalf payments that the state makes towards the pension program, which doesn't actually hit our budget. It's obviously money coming from the state going to the TRS fund. We have to include it on that ISB form, but it does not hit our budget per se. We do include that number in the document. The board has a copy of what the final adopted budget will look like in the format we normally give you in your green folders, and the formal document which goes to the Illinois State Board of Education, as I mentioned, is attached to the report along with the resolution as part of the budget adoption process. So if there's any further questions on the budget, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Otherwise, we have to adopt it by the end of the first quarter, which is the end of September. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing,
Just one thing, I went back and looked at the ISBE forms from last year, said this year. So this is projecting expenditures. If you take out 3 items, on-behalf payments, debt service, which changes every year, and then capital projects, about a 1.7% increase over last year's expenditures. Did I read that right?
That is correct.
And we're projecting at the end of this year to have about a $45 million fund balance, if all goes to budget, which is about 28%. I calculated that correctly too.
That's correct, and should mention the operating budget of the school district is balanced. And that's indicated on the form as well.
and although that fund balance may be at 28%, we'll have to address whether we want to shift some of that money to capital expenditures to take care of facility needs, but that's discussion for a later time and date. Hearing no further questions or discussion, I ask for a motion and a second to adopt the 2015-2016 budget.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Intihar,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Crabtree. Mrs. Center, would you call the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
May I make some comments before I vote? In previous meetings, as you probably recall, I voted no on the teacher contract, and I voted no on the tax levy, and I voted no on the Perkin-Will architectural study. And those elements in this budget equate to about $2.5 million. And I struggle with that. And also, I reached out before this budget was put together and encouraged and asked that we really focused in on allocating, quite frankly, a couple $1 million into the building maintenance fund to start putting some, starting to attack the $100 million needs that we have out there. And that number ended up, if I recall, somewhere around $230,000. So clearly, based on my previous stance on those items and my concern about, yet again, we're not giving, in my opinion anyway, the attention that we need to start making a dent in these building needs, I'll have to cast a no vote tonight.
Yes.
Again, I want to remind the board that we at a later time will address whether we can shift any of the money from the working fund to the capital needs fund, which may be several $1 million, but again, that's a discussion for a later date. Yes, I vote in favor of the budget. All board members, we're going to have to sign the budget resolution after the meeting, so before you leave, make sure you see Mary Lou and sign the resolution form. And Jim, your no vote's not going to get you out of signing that thing. The next item on the action for action is the approval of the 2015-2016 district goals. Dr. Schuler?
Sure, just want to provide just a quick bit of context, not necessarily just for the board, because I know you're well aware of this, but for anybody kind of curious about how we come to board priorities or goals. So almost a year ago, we as a board looked at the feedback that came from Engage 200, looked at some of the priorities that had already been established, were in progress. There was a lot of good work in the district already in progress, and took all that feedback and really moved it from feedback into a strategic blueprint that we call Vision 2018. Developed over the course of last year a dashboard to go along with Vision 2018 to make sure that we were monitoring the things that are important to us. And so annually, which we did in July, we looked at the priorities from within that multi-year vision to establish some immediate priorities for things that we want to address this year. And so the board identified 4 areas they wanted to flesh out into priorities for this year that included the development of the master facility plan, a focus on the future of instruction and technology. That's kind of a multifaceted goal that addresses not only the kind of instructional environment and learning experiences that we want to create, but what kind of technology that we need to surround teachers and students with, and what kinds of professional development need to be in place to support it. So that was the second goal, is a fit. Third goal is a goal that relates to one of the items in particular on fit, which is standards mastery, the curriculum we want to have in place. And so we prioritized a revamp of or I guess a refresh of our science curriculum aligned to next generation science standards. And then fourth, the Board of Education prioritized a heavy focus on building partnerships to support all of that work. So those 4 goal plans were developed and were shared with the board in August. We received feedback from a number of board members and have been able to incorporate that into the goal plans that are presented for your approval this evening. So important to note that we are hard at work on these priorities already, so I'm hoping that you don't vote no tonight, because that might create a little bit of a problem with some work that's already in progress, but nonetheless, they are presented for your approval this evening.
Any comments, questions, or discussion from board members?
I have one question, and I apologize for not getting this to you earlier, but and that is really drawing the relationship between these efforts and our dashboard and our student achievement metrics. So if you could just sort of draw that link for me, which I'm sure you can. I would like to kind of see if somehow through the measurement of, and I don't know, I know several of them we've not even determined a starting point, you know, so it's going to be hard to measure, but are we going to see how will we see this work reflected in those numbers? And or is it too soon to begin to see the effects of that?
So I guess you certainly will see a relation between the priorities established for this year and the dashboard. So you know, the dashboard goes beyond just the student learning metrics. There's an item on the dashboard that relates to our monitoring of an annual community engagement plan. There's an item that relates to the monitoring of an annual technology plan, of which the FIT goal directly relates to. We don't have an item on our dashboard related to science achievement, so certainly, you know, too soon to ultimately, I think, see where that goes. But I cannot imagine a circumstance around which an intentional focus on improving the learning environment, future of instruction and technology, which encompasses standards mastery, creativity and collaboration, all of the elements that surround providing good learning experience. I can't imagine that those are not going to be reflected ultimately in the achievement numbers that we're going to see. Our ability to tie any one of those directly to, we improve this aspect of our learning environment, and so we saw 1/10 of a point, growth on ACT. I don't know that I can bring it down to that level for you, but I can't imagine a situation in which we're improving the learning environment and not, if we're focused on the right things, are not over time seeing results in the achievement numbers.
Anyone else? Hearing?
Just a quick question on the science. As I was reading the different timeline elements, it seems like it was heavily focused on K-5 elementary. Is that correct? Intentional?
Yes, last year we did a lot of work with the middle school and we did those standards, and they're in the process of putting in more professional development. We just got done walking one of the middle schools yesterday to look at how science instruction is evolving. And then elementaries, we worked last year to redo those standards and we're doing pilots, but there's also work at the high school. We just met with the high school department chairs to start that process. Some of the modeling that's involved with the new science standards is already pretty solid at the high schools, but we are starting that process as well. But that timeline isn't finalized enough to be bringing you to the board in January. So you see that big focus, but it's not that we're just doing it at elementary.
Any other comments or questions?
Just one other comment. I think the thing that I think these are very well done. I think it's important to recognize that these are four goals, but they're not independent of each other. They're all very connected to each other. When you talk about the science, it's very related to the conversation over the facilities master plan. When you talk about facilities master plan, it's very integrated with the activities for community engagement. So while these read as four independent documents and four independent goal work plans they're all kind of driving down the same road together to a point. So I like how those things have been tied together from timelines and intentional activities. So thank you for that.
Hearing no further questions or discussion, Mrs. Senator, would you call, may I have a motion to approve the 2015-2016 goals?
So moved.
By Mr. Paulson.
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Coghill. Ms. Sender, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Paulson?
Yes.
Mrs. Coghill?
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree?
Yes.
Mrs. Interhart?
Yes.
Mr. Campion?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes. The next item on the agenda are discussion items relating to the school board membership of the National School Board Association and the Legislative Education Network of DuPage County. Dr. Schuler?
Yeah, these two are listed together, but they aren't necessarily linked together. Just want to be clear on that from the onset. I guess the first question really for the board is you have maintained an annual membership to the National School Board Association in addition to the Illinois Association, but I think just sort of as a trend over time, it's been a little less involvement in the national version of that association, and so I guess this is the membership renewal time, which is why we're asking the question today. If that is a membership, then in fact you do want to maintain, and just noted that that annual membership is $5,300. So maybe that is probably question one before we move into the discussion on lead. And again, no action obviously is scheduled on these tonight. I just wanted to this was the time to ask the question as the bill renewal came.
I guess being a member of the National School Board Association, I know what Illinois State School Board Association does for us, but what does the national do? To be a member, what would be the reason we should stay?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of direct knowledge, but you may. I will tell you that that was one of the questions that I did ask Mrs. Swanson as well. As she was kind of leaving the board, I had an opportunity to talk to her and just say, hey, I'm just curious, kind of your sense of that as well. And what I will tell you, her sense was more and more it's going to the local state associations, and the national connection on that is kind of dying its way out. So I think her sense was less and less, but Barb, you may have a...
I've gone to several national conventions. Mrs. Coghill has. I don't know if Mr. Roman has ever. I know Mr. Gambiani is not, but I don't think he's been to the state conventions either. So all I can say is, yes, I mean, there are times when you go and you're not sure that a session you attend is worthwhile. On the other hand, you never know when, you're going to, idea is going to come up, like the Citizens Advisory Committee. I provided you with a lot of documentation about what districts across the country are doing, and that all came from going to the national convention. I think if we drop our membership, plus they also lobby in Congress for us, and they have several other initiatives, at the national level. So I would not, for $5,300, I would not suggest that we drop this membership. I think it's important to keep in touch with what's going on at the national level. I think it's important to learn from other districts' failings and successes. There's some things going on in different states that are very, very good, and what you have in different states are typically more of a breadth of size of district. When we go to the Illinois convention, it's us and then all the little guys and very few of the big guys. And we're one of the big guys. So sometimes it's hard to get useful information when you're struggling with the differences in sizes. I mean, I think how you implement something in a 2-building school district is very different from how you might implement something in a 21-building school district. You get that at the national level. You get input from people who have more of a like situation to what you have. You have people there who have whole counties. Not that $5,300 is a small amount of money, but certainly in a budget of $145 million, I don't see the value in deleting that. I I think all of us should go to a national convention once to experience it. It's fascinating the things you learn just by networking with other people. And sometimes, you know, you're sitting right next to people in neighboring districts that you wouldn't have met at the state convention. So, I mean, we've probably spent more money just talking about it right now than it would cost us if you took our hourly, you know, what we're worth hourly, not what we're paid hourly, obviously. But to bring this up, I just would not want to not be a member of that. I just think it's too valuable.
So does not being a member of MSBA prevent you from going to the conference, or could you go at just a higher cost, higher registration fee? I mean, I get the chance to go through my work, so I agree with you. It's a great network, get exposed to different issues in different districts that never would cross our radar screen. So I definitely see the value in attending the conference. I'm just wondering, does it prevent us from attending the conference if we're not a member?
I believe you can attend the conference though as a non-member. The fee is going to be higher. There's usually a member discount.
So are there any other than the conference, any other tangible benefits that we receive here in our district?
Well, there are initiatives, there are newsletters, there's, you know, we get to be part of national initiatives. You know, that kind of thing. I think the information they put out is good. They do their journal. You know, they have technology conferences that we may want to avail ourselves of. I just think it's worthwhile, and I think we should support them at the national level. I think Marie was also on the board. You know, she was our state representative to their board. So they have a board representative from each state, and I think she felt it was very valuable as well. I just think it's...
I came into the discussion neutral, and I still am neutral on it. I like to do some homework on it and see what the additional cost is if we're not a member to go to the convention, and maybe give Marie Slater a call and find out what she has to say.
Do we have a decision we have to make tonight? We have a little bit of time.
Just out of... When I first came on the board, it was stressed to all be together and go to the national. And several of us did, and it was only in recent years that we've gone back to maybe 2 members being able to go, you know, for your travel reasons and your travel expense reasons. But I will tell you, those first few years where we were all there with our superintendent were probably the most valuable. And just because we would go to different conferences, we'd huddle together at night and talk about what we learned and understand, you know, put it in context of where we were at that time. And I think we should start doing that again. It's not as rich of an experience if you go alone, but when you go with other members of your district. And every time that Mrs. Swanson and I have gone together, like this last time that there was just the 2 of us there, she was there for ISBA, or IASB, and I was there for our district. I just thought it was extremely valuable, and I don't know why we would turn our back and not support them in their efforts either for $5,300.
Well, my recommendation is we do some more homework and thinking and talking about it, and something we'll may have to address at a future board meeting. When is the renewal subscription due?
Soon. Not to get the exact date, but
I guess if we decide to go ahead and renew it, they're going to accept our money regardless, right?
The second question I shared with the board and a couple of previous Friday updates, just some information about LENLEN is the Legislative Education Network of DuPage County. It is the only countywide advocacy group in the state. District 200 is not currently a member, but we were approached by Peg Agnos, who's the executive director of LEND, inquiring if we were interested in it. So I'm not asking you for a decision tonight. I guess I'm just asking if you are interested in having Peg return to a future meeting to share with you more information about LEND, what it does, and to gauge if there is potential interest in the district re-engaging with LEND. I don't know the exact period where we dropped. We did used to be a member of LEND, dropped that affiliation, so just kind of gauging if there's interest in that in a future meeting.
I just have a question. So LEND would be a group that would lobby for state issues on our behalf, is that correct? So with everything that's pending, sitting out there right now that could affect us, something like this sounds like it would make a lot of sense. Am I understanding that right?
Correct. It is a heavily state-focused group. They do have some relationships at federal level, but it is primarily a state-focused effort.
What are the dues for LEND?
I don't know the exact dues. I would have to get that from Peg. There's a sliding scale that I think relates to the size of the district and where you are.
And another question is, we dropped out of LEND at a time when, sorry, I must have kicked the cord here. We dropped out of LEND at a time when LEND was lobbying for legislation that would have actually caused our funding to decrease. So it was determined at that point in time that there wasn't enough similarities between our situation and the situation of other DuPage members. Has that changed?
Yeah, I think two things. One, at that point, I believe District 200 was a foundation district, which was different from a lot of the counterparts. You know, most of the districts, certainly most of the districts that are of like size in DuPage County do belong to LEND, so 203, 204, the other units. So, you know, as I look ahead right now to the issues that I think are potentially going to impact us in potential legislation around funding, around property tax discussions, I think we are more likely to be on the same side of the fence as the folks that are part of LEND.
I think with the pending legislation that has been pending from time to time in Springfield, what was known as SB 16, now SB 1, about the reformulating the formula for districts, pension, possible shift of pension obligation, and other items. Having a strong presence down in Springfield is vitally important. And I see little harm in having this representative from LEND come and describe what LEND is doing and how we can fit in, and maybe come up with an accurate yearly membership dues. So I see no hesitation at all in stepping forward and having this person come and talk to us.
And the only lobbying entity that represents our interests right now in Springfield is LUDA. Is that right? Our Junior District Association.
The Alliance. So the Alliance is a combination of the school board, school administrators, and business officials. Yeah, LUDA definitely represents us much more sort of, I guess, locally. We have a much more active voice in LUDA, smaller group, smaller organization.
I mean, I agree with what you said, Jim, in terms of where we are now, but I'm just saying that we weren't there when we dropped that membership, and that's why we dropped it. I think that was part of the rationale for dropping it was, you know, you're supporting legislation that's gonna, you know, yeah, we're just not like you. We were a foundation level district, as you said, and the formula they wanted was going to actually cost us. And Mr. Farley, I'm sure remembers all of that too. So, like I said, if things are changed, I think we should entertain joining them again. But if we're gonna find ourselves on different sides of an issue, I don't see any reason in giving them money to support something that's not in our best interest.
So are there at least 4 head nods that are interested in at least hearing what they have to say at a future meeting? Okay, we're not committing to anything tonight.
Yes, I see 4 heads nodding at least. Written reports, we all have reviewed the monthly financial reports, the FOIA requests, and Dr. Schuler, the teacher administrator, and I have our compensation report that was also provided to board members. Reports from board members, any board committee reports?
The committee has met since the last time. We do have a meeting coming up before, I remember the date, before on the 29th, yes, so a little under 2 weeks from now, which will be possibly to debrief some of the results from the State of the District address next month. But everything I hear about the progress is they're moving forward, and we'll get a presentation on that on the 30th, the committee of the whole.
Any other committee reports?
Just that we met with the community engagement and had a nice cross-section of people there, and some from CUSD200, some administrators, and just a lot of people that we got to hear the preview of the State of the Union report that Dr. Shirley's going to be giving out in lots of different venues. And it was great because we got to then kind of give our opinions about how it was, and might want to tweak it this or there, and they were very receptive, and it should be the focus, a general State of the Union, but then focus on the facilities, because that is what we're trying to educate ourselves and the public on, and what direction we're going to go. So, got to really plug those dates and get everybody out to we have a good audience.
Hearing these committee reports, it just emphasizes to me how busy we all are going to be this year. The Finance Committee meeting next Tuesday, the Facilities Committee with Jim and Brad, and the amount of work they have in front of them, our new HR Policy Committee that's not only going to be reviewing policies and recommending modifications, updates, or deletions, but also reviewing human resource issues, and specifically doing some research on board representation and collective bargaining, and hopefully eventually, when the time is appropriate, before we enter our next collective bargaining negotiations, make a recommendation to the board. And the community engagement, your plate is full, not only with the community engagement effort for the facilities, master facilities plan. Wow, woo, that bit me. It was a wasp. It's done, but yeah. But it'll keep me awake. But also coordinating and making sure that items are coordinated with the CAC, community engagement efforts with the master facilities plan. So we do have full plates, all of us, and I appreciate so much all the work that all of you are doing. Our district should be proud of the work you're doing. Thank you. Topics for future discussion, Mr. Paulson?
And the conversation we just had about land and the past decisions we made made me remember of a conversation that Barbara and I had about a week or so ago, that one of the things that's occurred to me is we have a pretty new board, and there's been a lot of decisions made over the last 10 or 15 years, or past studies that were done, topics discussed, key decisions that were made that, I would imagine in 2, 3, 4 years, nobody around here, except for maybe Mr. Farley, is going to remember all that stuff. So I guess it's not really a request for a topic of future discussion, but it would be great to kind of have a little archive of the issues that were discussed year by year, studies that were made so that we can go back to it. Something might come up to us or something we want to bring to the Citizens Advisory Committee, for example. It might have been covered back in 2004, for example. Rather than starting in all from new, we might be able to go back and look at something that might have been previously reviewed by the board or the administration. Could be, I think, could be a lot of value. So something as simple as just a list of what was covered year by year, I think could be helpful, kind of building that historic archive for the board. It's not, like I said, I don't anticipate seeing it on a future board agenda, but something just to have as a resource could be, I think, could be pretty helpful. So I guess that's a request, soft request. I don't know who could spearhead that. That's just a comment and a question.
We will include it in an item for a future discussion at the board meeting, so we don't lose sight of it. This came up because various board members have heard from the community about maybe changing the start times for high schools. There's been a lot of research done recently about the advantages that may ensue if you do have a later start time for high schools. But that's not a new topic. 4, 5, 6 years ago, the board looked at it and has done some research on it. However, that research needs to be brought up to date and incorporated. But we don't have to start from square one. We already have these research items or these reports in our archives. It would be good to revive them and bring them up to date. Other topics for future discussion include the staffing dashboard metric in Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Facility Master Plan. Announcements. Our next meeting is September 30, 2015, the Committee of the Whole, 7:30 p.m. At the School Service Center. And then we do have a chat with the board on October 8th from 8:30 to 9:30 at Wheaton-Warrenville South High School. Our next regular meeting is October 14th at 7:30 p.m. at Pleasant Hill. And public comments. And again, the opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have a question or comment on an agenda item. We appreciate hearing from stakeholders and value their thoughts and questions. The board strives to make the best decisions for the district, and public input in a variety of venues is very helpful. The board must protect the civility and decorum of the meeting. Please be respectful of the duties of the board and the democratic process in your comments. Please use the microphone, state your name, and whether you're a district resident, and address your comments to the board. Limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please be factual and courteous, and do not include statements that are personally disrespectful or condescending to members of the board or staff. And we do have one person who signed up for public comment on non-agenda items, Kristen Haas. Did I pronounce that last name correctly? Somebody from the staff certainly will get back to you on that. There being no further action to come before the board in open session, I ask for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Entahar.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Coghill. Ms. Center, would you please? Keep forgetting that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes.